Alrighty, so welcome back to another News of the Week episode, and I forgot to kind of mention this in my last News of the Week episode in the beginning, where I was going to kind of talk about how under normal circumstances, we would have had the first match week of the 2021 season actually happening last weekend, but obviously you probably know that we're not under normal circumstances right now, and that the season, of course, is pushed back about a month and a half later, and also preseason is pretty much the same thing. But the good news is preseason is already starting for a lot of these teams. In fact, every single team have been pretty much now reported for preseason. We also had a couple of these MLS teams have also released their preseason schedule and who exactly they're going to be playing. And judging by all these teams that is releasing their MLS preseason schedule, it's going to be either these teams decide to play some preseason game against USL opponent at their home market, or they'll just go to their usual kind of preseason location with teams either going to Tucson or going to Orlando to do their kind of preseason prep and face against teams that also are going to Tucson or Orlando to do their preseason training. But yeah, I was kind of hoping maybe this preseason, after I remember in the MLS's back tournament where there was rumbling that maybe this MLS's back tournament could be something that happened in the next preseason, and every single team will once again gather at the ESPN Wide World of Sports and do kind of a mini MLS's back tournament before the season start. But unfortunately, it looks like that is not going to be the case, and it's kind of a shame that that's only going to be a one-off, because I really enjoyed that tournament, and that is something that I think MLS might be thinking about in the future, where I know they probably won't do it in a mid-season tournament like last year, but I was thinking maybe they'll do it kind of like a preseason tournament heading into this year or even in the future. Now, I've also mentioned how there's a couple of MLS teams that have released their MLS preseason schedule, but not every single team has done it before. In fact, the Quakes have not released their preseason schedule yet, but something tells me they're probably not going to be heading to Cancun, and that I heard rumors that they might be doing their preseason down in Santa Barbara because of the whole restriction that is going on with Santa Clara County, and it seems like they're trying. The county is trying to hardball the Quakes again and not allow them to practice whatsoever. But once the Quakes does release their preseason schedule, I'll see how their preseason schedule is going to be. Most of those games are probably going to be behind closed door, which actually that's going to be the case for most of these preseason games too, because a lot of these teams, they don't really need to basically they have fans in the stands, or even before this pandemic, it is very rare you have preseason game where they allow fans in the stands, and a lot of these games are usually played behind closed door. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and kind of give a update in terms of the whole Sacramento situation where I talk about in the last News of the Week episode. Well, there seems to be a glimmer of hope going on with Sacramento coming to MLS. And then, of course, in Sacramento, Mayor Darell Steinberg says that he has received significant interest from multiple owners that want to be the lead investor of the Sacramento MLS team. Now, the key word here is that he has received significant interest of owner, but it didn't mention who exactly those owners is and whether or not if these owners are actually looking to try to be the lead investor of the team. So you kind of want to take a grain of salt of the fact that whether or not if this is actually true, that eventually Sacramento is going to get a new lead investor that's going to be replacing Ron Burkle, who decided to pull out of this deal. But either way, I hope Sacramento eventually is going to find a lead investor, and in some way time is kind of ticking against them, knowing the fact that MLS and Don Gabbard, he knows that he wants to make sure Sacramento eventually are going to still come to MLS and eventually find a new lead investor, but he also knows that they better find it soon, because he cannot afford them to wait and delay their expansion payment, knowing the fact that, as I mentioned in the last episode, expansion payment and expansion fee is really what's keeping the league afloat right now. And without those expansion fees, yeah, I won't be surprised if the league is going to look elsewhere and potentially look for teams that are willing to pay the expansion fee and take over that spot that Sacramento has in in the future. Now, moving on in terms of the next news and talking about some of the signings that has happened in the past couple of days, well, the Loons have finally found a number 9, as they have signed Juan Agudelo off of free agency from Inter Miami. Now, obviously, is this the number 9 I was hoping the Loons would actually sign in the offseason? Probably not, but I'm at least happy the fact that the team is actually decided to invest on the attack, after I kind of mentioned in my moving forward series about Minnesota, where I'm kind of frustrated the fact that the team is not looking at the biggest issue that they are going to have in this upcoming season is who exactly is going to play number 9 in that spot after we decide to let Luis Amarilla walk this off season. And Juan Agudelo, I think he could be a decent option maybe as a second striker, but if he is going to be the number 9 for us heading into this upcoming season, yeah, that might not be a good option. And this is no disrespect toward Juan Agudelo, who I always thought that he was a decent kind of player, but he's kind of been a little bit of a journeyman in these past couple of years around MLS, been bouncing around a couple of teams, and unfortunately he hasn't really lived up to the potential that I remember when he was with New England and also with Seattle, when he was definitely looked like he could be a player that could be a future U.S. men's national team type of player. But either way, if this is kind of a depth signing that we have on the attack, I think it's a decent kind of signing. But if this is a signing to basically signify that we finally found our number 9 and he's going to be our main number 9 heading into this upcoming season, I'm definitely going to be very concerned, and I just feel like this does not fix the issue. This is kind of like putting a band-aid in terms of a gaping wound that you have, and yeah, putting a band-aid on a gaping wound probably is not a best solution to trying to fix that gaping wounds that you have. Now, today, Austin FC have signed Sebastian Burholter on loan from the Columbus Crew with an option to trade, and I believe this is the first ever transaction between Austin FC and the Columbus Crew, and I can imagine how Crew fans probably are feeling about this move, and that I'm pretty sure there's going to be some that say that Sebastian Burholter is a traitor right now because he decided to leave the Crew to join their main rival, that is Austin FC. But all kidding aside, I think this is a decent move for Sebastian Burholter to decide to leave the Crew to go to Austin FC. I mean, I know he's going to be leave behind a championship kind of team, but for a guy that last season, you can clearly see there's some good young potential in him, and that he could definitely be a decent midfielder in this league. Knowing the fact that Columbus is already very stacked in the midfield area, and that most likely he's not going to get as much time as he did last year with how stacked the midfield is. He probably need to go somewhere if he's going to continue to develop his game and look for playing time. And I think Austin FC is going to be a good area where he's probably going to get more playing time when he joined that club compared to when he is going to be with Columbus. Now, there's also an option to trade, which means that if Sebastian Burholter does do well with Austin FC, then Austin can always basically trigger that option and basically maybe pay a significant amount of general allocation money or first round pick to Columbus in able to get Sebastian Burholter, because I'm pretty sure Columbus are not willing to let go of one of their young asset for a cheap amount of money, and especially the fans are not going to be happy if they're going to let go of a player to go to their rival only to just get pennies on the dime in exchange for that. Now, the New York Red Bulls have added midfielder Yobadera on loan from RB Salzburg, so this is another typical kind of Red Bulls signing where they decide to get a player that is either on loan from one of their parent club, that is RB Salzburg or even RB Leipzig. And I can also understand why Red Bulls fans are kind of not really that happy the fact that the club is trying to do this offseason. They're kind of a little bit underwhelmed with some of their signing this offseason, because I know they're trying to go through a bit of a transitional period right now, but at the same time they want to basically stay competitive and continue to extend that playoff streak that they've been having. But at the same time, when you look at the team that they have, and even some of the signing that they have made this offseason, and also with the way that the East is going to get stronger next year, it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not if the Red Bulls are going to be competitive heading into next year. And this guy is another guy that I don't really know much about him, and we shall see whether or not if he is going to be a starter for this team or he's just going to be a depth piece player that the Red Bulls are going to acquire. Now, moving on in to talk about some of the transfer rumors, there is reports suggest that Lautaro Giannetti, who was actually on his way to Atlanta, and it looks like Atlanta has complete the transaction of this Velvet Sarsfield center back. Well, now it seemed like this deal is not going to happen because he unfortunately failed a medical with Atlanta United, and anytime when a player fails a medical with a team, you know that move probably is not going to happen. Now, there's also reports saying that Lautaro Giannetti says that he does not want to go back to Velvet Sarsfield, and he still wants to push his move to go to Atlanta. But that being said, there's also some reports saying that Atlanta most likely is not going to be interested in him anymore, and they're just going to look for another center back. So yeah, it's a shame that this of course is the case, and that we shall see whether or not if there's going to be more further updates, and whether or not if Atlanta is still going to pursue this player despite the fact that he failed a medical with the team. And as I said, usually with players that fail a medical with a team as they ready to transfer to the team that they're doing a medical, they usually don't sign with that team after they of course fail a medical. But we shall see how this is going to go. But moving on, in terms of the next news, is that DC United is close to re-signing Lucas Rodriguez, and I think this would be a decent signing for DC if they are able to acquire him, because I thought when Lucas Rodriguez was with this team back in 2019, he was definitely a very good player, especially on the wing area. And knowing the fact that DC are desperate in terms of trying to add some help in terms of the attack, I think this would definitely be a good answer to that. Now, that being said, one thing I am a little bit concerned about this signing is that, remember how when they decided to reacquire Yamil Asad, and that, before Yamil Asad was a decent kind of player before he decided to go back down to South America, and then they basically reacquire him again, and he looked nothing like the player that they first signed him from Atlanta a couple of years ago. So this could be the same case with Lucas Rodriguez, where maybe he'll kind of suffer the same fate that Yamil Asad unfortunately is suffering right now with DC. But I'm pretty sure DC are hoping that's not the case, and he's going to still be a decent player like when he first played with this team back in 2019. Speaking of re-signing, and this is a very interesting rumors. Now, the Seattle Sounders are report to re-sign Freddie Montero from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and if this actually happened, then this is the ultimate reunion that the Seattle Sounders have just put out. Like, I know this offseason, in terms of some of the signings the Sounders have made, are either players that is going to be heading back to the city that they're based in, or they used to play with the Sounders. But imagine they are able to re-sign Freddie Montero. Like, that is going to be kind of like almost an Ozzy Alonso type of re-signing that the Sounders are going to do, because Freddie Montero was a really big part of this Sounders team way back, I think about 6, 7, and 8 years ago. Now, if they are going to re-sign Freddie Montero, I think that could be a good option in terms of adding more decent depth in terms of that number 9 position. But at the same time, one thing that I know Sounders fans are maybe a little bit concerned about re-signing Freddie Montero is that he's going to take a lot of that cap space that the Sounders had, and he's kind of a luxury type of player if the Sounders are looking to try to acquire him. And I'm pretty sure when you look at some of the signings that the Sounders have made, they usually don't go with these luxury kind of type of player that might be kind of like aging and probably are kind of like part of their old regime. But that being said, since this offseason they've been kind of having a reunited tour with a lot of these players that, again, used to either base in Seattle or have played with the team before, I won't be surprised they're going to make the ultimate reunion and looking to trying to bring back Freddie Montero to their team. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news involving the Houston Dynamo, who confirmed interest in Tigres center back Carlos Salcedo. Now, despite the fact that I know they said that they are looking to try to sign him, I doubt that is going to be happening. Again, the price that Tigres is probably going to ask Houston going to pay is probably going to be in the 8-digit mark. And right now, when you look at the most expensive defender in the league, I don't think I have seen a defender that has even came close to signing the $10 million mark. In fact, I don't think there's any defender in MLS history that has even got up to $5 million. So imagine if the Dynamo are really going to break the bank and trying to sign Carlos Salcedo for about $60 million. That's going to open a lot of eyeballs, and it would really kind of be a shocking kind of news, considering one, the Dynamo is not a team that's known for making some big signing, and that they're always labeled as the cheapest team in MLS. But two, signing a guy for $16 million that is playing the center back row and basically making him a DP player. And you know how I said before, you never want to make one of your DP player that is part of your back line, or even worse, the cardinal sins of the DP rule is never sign DP player as that is your goalkeeper. Yeah, I just feels like this probably is not going to happen, and there's a good reason why a lot of these teams don't spend big amount of money to get defender, because this is a league that is more focused on the attacking front, and that I think if the Dynamo are going to try to make this move, this could be a little bit of a mistake, knowing the fact that they maybe blew all their budget on one position, and they might not have enough to address even a bigger issue that they have on their team, which is the midfield and also on the attacking end. Now, FC Cincinnati is in talk with former U.S. Youth International Kyle Scott, and I've heard there's reports saying that he's actually on trial with FC Cincinnati right now, so we shall see whether or not if he does pass that trial and eventually join FC Cincinnati on a permanent deal. Kyle Scott is a guy that I remember he was part of the Chelsea Academy, and like most Chelsea player that is part of the Chelsea Academy, he basically was sent out on loan, and eventually he wasn't good enough to be part of the first team, so he basically got binned to Newcastle, and I haven't heard any spectacular things that he has with Newcastle. So yeah, if this signings does happen, I'm not quite sure FC Cincinnati fans are going to be over the moon in terms of signing him. And if he does sign with this team, you wonder whether or not if this is just more of a depth piece that they are going to sign in terms of the midfield. Especially, they're also saying that he's kind of like on trial right now with the team. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see whether or not if they do sign him permanently, or the fact that is this just one of the case where a player decided to go on trial with an MLS team, but we basically won't hear anything other than the fact that he probably is going to be going back to Europe, and FC Cincinnati is not going to be interested in signing him. And then finally, moving on into the last two news that doesn't really relate to some of the transfer rumor and signings that's happened in the last couple of days. Well, the Chicago Fire have revealed 4 different themes that they are going to use for their new logo heading into next season. Now, these different themes that I've seen, and at least 2 of these themes that I've seen that could potentially be as part of their new logo is actually kind was part of the old logo that they had. I remember there was, oh god, I forgot what exactly is, but I remember there's also like the C that was part of one of the theme that was also part of the old Chicago Fire logo, and then there's kind of like that little cross kind of thing, kind of like a fireman kind of cross. Yeah, that was also part of the old Chicago Fire logo, and I just wonder, if they have those kind of themes that is going to be part of the old or part of the new logo, then they might as well just go back to their old logo, or just kind of create something similar to the old logo, because again, Chicago, a lot of their fans are saying that there's really no need for them to rebrand in the first place, and I get that they are looking to trying to go back to Soldier Field and go back to their historic home, so that they want to have this big rebrand and make a big deal about it. Well, sometimes you don't really need to do that, and that in some way they're kind of fell into victim of just kind of overdoing things, and right now when you see how they kind of fell a victim in terms of overdoing doing things, when they decide to just rebrand everything that is on their team just because they decided to move back to Soldier Field, you can see why things have not worked out for this team, and especially how a lot of these fans, now they're very thankful that the current logo that they're going to have is going to be bin after the end of this season. And then finally, the Quakes today, they unveiled their new jersey for the 2021 season. As I mentioned yesterday, they were supposed to unveil it yesterday, but unfortunately, we heard about the sad news about Mateus Almeida, father Oscar Almeida, unfortunately passed away of COVID. And again, my thoughts and prayers and my condolence has to go to Mateus Almeida and his family of this difficult time that they're dealing with right now. But also, I respect that the Quakes decided to make the right decision of delaying the jersey unveil till today. But the new jersey that they have, and I'm actually going to show you guys here on my phone, is actually based on the one that they wear in the 2001 season, which is the year when the Quakes, of course, won their first of 2 MLS Cup in their franchise history. And let me just put it up here. All right, so this is not loading for some reason. Oh, there we go. So yeah, this is basically going to be the new jersey that the Quakes are going to be wearing. It's most likely going to be their home kit that they're going to be wearing for the 2021 season. And I gotta say, it's actually a really decent, nice jersey, and probably one of the best jersey that I've seen the Quakes have done ever since I've become a fan of this team. Probably not as good as the 2017 one. I think the 27 jersey is by far the best of all my time supporting this team. And heck, I still even have that jersey, and I'll remain having that jersey for pretty much a very long time, because that was just such a badass jersey that the Quakes, of course, decided to release. But this one is definitely much better compared to the last couple of years, where, how the last couple of years I haven't really been buying a jerseys from the Quakes. Yeah, because they are absolutely ugly, and it just feels like it's not worth my time to spend hundreds of dollars to try to buy those kind of ugly jersey. But this one, I would definitely buy it, and especially, I think this is one of those few jerseys where if you buy the authentic one, it's actually much better than the replica one. And I usually don't say that a lot, because usually authentic and replica, there really isn't a lot that is different between that, and the cost of it. I always feel like it's just not worth the amount of cost to buy an authentic one compared to buying a replica one, because they both look kind of the same. But this is one of the few ones that, yeah, it is definitely worth it to buy an authentic one, and that, I'll probably buy it when the Quakes do open their stadium and allow fans to be back in the stands, because as much as I want to buy it on the online store, I probably won't, because it actually does not have that 20% discount that I can apply onto the online store through my season ticket pass. And also, I don't want to just go to the team store right now to buy the jersey while using my season ticket pass discount to buy the jersey, because it's gonna be a waste of a trip if I decide to go to the team store right now, whereas I could basically do it a little bit later on when they do start to allow fans back into the stands. But yeah, that's definitely a jersey that I would definitely want to buy. I mean, there's a lot of jerseys coming into this season that I definitely want to get and is on my wish list right now. And I know I haven't been buying a lot of jerseys lately because I am kind of running out of budget, and I want to make sure I do get a job soon so I can start to use that money to buy some of these jerseys. But just to know, I will definitely buy that Quakes authentic jersey, but it'll probably be the time when the Quakes do allow fans back into the stands. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for this News of the Week video. As always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.